Hello and welcome to the special edition of War on Error. I'm Graham Hughes. It is Thursday, the 2nd of March 2023. Time marches on. Time makes a fool of us all. So I'm at my parents' house today in Liverpool. I've come to see my friends and family since it's my birthday week. Why not? And I'm going to be in Manchester tomorrow. Good old Manchester. So, welcome. I've got a slightly different setup tonight, so my audio might not be as good as it normally is because I'm using the mic on the camera to record. So let me know if the video's alright, let me know if the sound is alright, and you know, it generally looks okay, because that would help. I've got your messages coming up on my phone, so I'm going to be reading off my phone. I'm not being rude. I'm not texting someone. I'm actually reading your messages. So, hello to John Barleycorn. We've also got Mad Monk 33. We've got Lee Corn saying evening all. Lefty Boat saying evening folks. Lee Corn wants to know if he's being followed around. Duke Venture saying I have the worst heartburn right now. No Larry and Paul tonight. I lowered my expectations for nothing. Well, I'm here. I'm here. You know, set up in my old bedroom with this is just a sheet of green material that's behind me here, covering the wall. Aren't you the Turnip Odyssey guy? What? Milk, hello, says, just saying milk. Lee Corn, just saying milk. Asperger's Europe saying hello. We've got the Lifty Boat saying what, me? Video and sound are fine, bit echoey but fine. That's from Lee Corn. I've retained my low expectations just for you, Graham. Oh, thanks a lot, mate. I could be wearing my, I've got a lavalier mic, which I could probably just plug into my laptop and try and get sound out of that, but it never seems to work. It never seems to, I don't know why, just it never seems to work. So I sacked it off because I can't be bothered fiddling around with the bloody mic when I'm supposed to be going live. I must have the wrong snowflake. Evening all, says Cathal. We've got Ben Ridding saying, hello. Sorry, evening. Can someone stop this train? I want to get off. Someone stop this planet. I want to get off. Good evening all, says number 3. Hello, Richard. We've also got Graham Haller saying evening all. And we've got David is there as well saying hi everyone. Audio's better, says Cathal. It's better. It's actually better than it normally is. Lee thinks it's a bit echoey. Hi to Mike on the camera. Hi, Mike. Good joke. I was watching Queer as Folk, but I prefer to see Graham. He's so handsome. Oh, thank you very much. Queer as Folk is good, though. Great show. With the guy from Aidan Gillen from Game of Thrones, famous as Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. He was in that. Getting a drink, be right back. Indeed. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about Isabel Oakeshott and Matt Hancock and Rishi Sunak and Boris Johnson, who are all fighting like rats in a sack. Don't forget that Matt Hancock is still an MP. He's an independent. He's not part of the Conservative Party anymore because he went on Who's a Celebrity in the Jungle, Get Me Out of Here, Millionaire on Ice, or whatever the fuck it's called. Oh, sorry, I'm not allowed to swear tonight because my mum's, it's my mum's house. She told me not to swear. No swearing. But yes, so yeah. Anyway, so what's happened this week is Isabel Oakeshott, who's married to Richard Tice. Right, so Isabel Oakeshott, privately educated, is married to Richard Tice, privately educated, Brexiteers, right? And he runs a party called Reform UK, which I think was the shitbag Farage's vehicle after the Brexit Party and UKIP or whatever, you know, host that the parasitic worm had decided to invade from one day to the next. It's hard to keep up. And Richard Tice is a scumbag, but he's trying to take votes from the Tory party. He wants to get specifically the Brexity right-wing gobshite vote, the kind of voter who blame everything that's going wrong in society on the poorest and most disenfranchised people on the planet. We're talking about refugees and asylum seekers who have lost everything. They've lost their jobs, they've lost their homes, many of them lost members of their family, they've lost all their friends, they've lost their community, they have lost everything, and they have nothing. And all the problems of the world are not caused by the billionaires who are greedy and want more money and, you know, would rather spend money on buying a yacht or pointless vanity projects like a Hyperloop rather than actually spending money on, I don't know, a cure for Alzheimer's or a cure for different kinds of cancers that we don't have yet. Are we going to spend money on that? Or maybe some of the many tropical diseases that we don't really know how to prevent, like Japanese encephalitis or dengue fever or Nile River fever or malaria for that matter. The vaccine for malaria is still very, very slowly being developed at the moment. Honestly, if we had malaria in the US and the UK, we would have found a vaccine for that bloody thing years ago. But because it's tropical countries, I don't give a crap. Anyway, the point is, it's not the fault of the billionaires and the millionaires and the scumbags who told people to vote for Brexit. Apparently, it's the fault of the poorest, most wretched, disenfranchised people, desperate people on the planet, asylum seekers. That's what they want people to think. And the people who do think that, the knobheads who read the Daily Mail, etc., they're the ones who are now hopefully going to go to the Reform Party. I say hopefully because I want them to split the vote. I want the few Tories that are left who still would vote Tory, I want them going to Reform. They're not going to vote for Labour because they think that Labour is part of the woke, oh God, I hate the word woke. They think Labour are evil for whatever reason. So I'm not going to vote for Labour. So, okay, well, fine. So what we're going to do, quite sensibly, is get them to vote for the Reform Party. So Matt Hancock, who is ostensibly a Tory, gave the wife of a rival party's leader, and a woman who's known for being horrible and, shitting on her friends. Do you remember that case with the MP who was done for speeding, and he said he didn't know whether his wife was driving or not, and then it turned out that they did know whether his wife was driving and it wasn't, and they ended up going to jail? Yeah. She was one of Oakshit's friends. She's not a very nice person. She's really, really not a very nice person. And she's done a number on Matt Hancock. Who could have seen that coming? I'm sorry, Matt Hancock, thick as two short planks. Thick as two short mancocks. Anyway, getting a drink being out. I haven't got any water. Shit. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go for a full hour without a drink. I haven't got any tea or water or anything. Forgot. If someone wants to just send me that through the lens of the camera, that would be great. Lee says the UK version based in Manchester is and it features McTuckies, which is still there, it still exists on Canal Street, which is awesome. And I love that Reform UK is abbreviated to Refuck. Indeed. Reform is set up as a company. That doesn't surprise me. Talking about the UK and the US version of Queer as Folk. I know, Lee, I visited Canal Street just my birthday present. Had some good nights out in Canal Street when I used to live in Manchester. Used to go to Manchester University. I lived in Manchester for 4 years. Duke Vengeance, I had the dog's ashes from the vet, but no idea what I want to do with it yet. I'm really sorry to hear that, Duke. That really fucking sucks, man. I'm really sorry. Lee Corn's talking about Canal Street and quite a few McTuckies around Manchester. I know it's a great name for a place, isn't it? So yeah, that flipping Hancock and that blasted Oak shot there. Yeah, but it's not just them two. Boris Johnson has gone on the record today as saying that he doesn't agree with Rishi Sunak's Northern Ireland Protocol sorting it out agreement with the EU. Of course, Boris Johnson would give them. He would sell them. Well, he'll sell his soul. He'll sell his mother's soul for fame and fortune. But he basically said that Rishi Sunak shouldn't have done this deal because it still means that the EU has power over Britain. And that's the line that he's carefully sold to the DUP, who are still considering it. And the sweetener for the DUP, the idea is that they can reject any EU law that they don't like, which is what we used to be able to do before we left the EU. And we didn't reject any because there were none that we objected to. There were no EU laws in the 40 fucking years of us being in the EU that anyone really objected to. and they all have to go through our parliament. They all have to be voted on to become part of British law. And they went, yeah, that's all right. Because the EU runs by consensus politics. It's not ideological in the same way that the Tories and Labour are ideological. No, it is just simply, let's do things to make business easier. And we took that away. We went, no, let's get rid of that, but we'll keep it for Northern Ireland. Okay. We'll take it away from Scotland, even though over 60% of Scottish people voted to stay in the EU. And if I'm sorry, but 52% is a landslide, then over 60% is an insane landslide. 52% isn't a landslide, by the way, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. So this is like, and he's just saying to Duke, my condolences, lies in peace about the death of Duke's dog, which really fucking sucks. I'm really sorry to hear that. It's, yeah. Anyway, Ben said, I would offend your mother if I were to describe my feelings towards Jonski, and she doesn't deserve that, mate. Fine, go ahead. I don't think she's watching. I think she's downstairs watching, I don't know, Game of Thrones or something. Lee Collins says, ironically, Belgium is less proactive at implementing EU law than the UK was. I know. But it's up to individual countries how much EU law they really take and which ones they ignore. But the reality is, there was always a little bit of grey ground, you know, that you could sort of ignore certain laws in the EU if you weren't asked about them. And also, I mean, there were EU laws that just didn't apply to the UK, like the correct bottling of olives. We don't grow any olives in the UK. It doesn't make any difference to us whatsoever. And it's those kind of laws that were championed by the Brexit lot to say, oh, this is why we need to get rid of the EU. And it was just like, it was just absolute errant nonsense, absolute nonsense. So yeah, I'm talking nonsense. The relentless march shall continue. It shall, my friends, it shall. Listen, now, ironically, when I'm in Durham, I'm freezing cold because it's cold in Durham and the house is cold. The heating is on in here. And I've just realised how hot it is, so I'm going to have to get rid of my decloak, get rid of my top. So I'm just going to give you the ident screen for just a moment, and then I'll be back. So don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I will return momentarily. And I'm back in the room. Hi, I just took the top off, but I don't really want to do it on camera. This is not a strip show, guys. Anyway, so yeah, moving swiftly. I'm so hot because there's a radiator behind me. Literally, I think it's not even on. Bloody hell, this is a warm house. I'm so jealous. That was quick. I literally just took my top off, that's it. Hi all, says Veg Pie. Hi Veg Pie, how you doing? For authoritarian superstate, the EU is pretty lax. Yeah, it really is. They're going to have an EU army, you know. They're going to have an EU army. I think we've got one already. It's called NATO, because nearly everyone in the EU is also in NATO. Yeah, it's funny that. I don't know. Spain today passed a law which trans can change their sex or name without parents' consent as long as they are 16 years or higher. Oh, that's fair enough. I think, you know, if we're going to give other things to people who are 16 years old, the right to decide how they want to live their life in their own bodies, I think that's fair enough. It's one of those things about when I think of like the most important sort of philosophical aspect of the politics that we're living through at the moment, and I think like, what is in this capitalist dog-eat-dog world, what is the one thing that should truly be yours and yours alone? Okay, that's the question. And the answer to that, I feel, is your body. I think that's it, right? I think you should be allowed to do whatever you want with your own body. It is yours. You own it. As long as it's not hurting anyone else. I don't think this is unreasonable. So, for instance, I don't agree that people, you know, I wouldn't mandate vaccination, so to speak, but I would say, listen, you can't come and sit in a sports arena with all these people if you haven't been vaccinated, because you might spread a disease which can harm other people. You see what I mean? But when it comes to things like getting tattoos, whether people want to smoke, again, that's something where that harms the person who does it. But if they do it where other people are, it also harms other people. So I want to be reasonable about this and say, listen, don't do it around other people. But if you want to do it to yourself, give yourself cancer, I'm not going to stop you. Drugs, same thing. Abortion, absolutely. It's your body. But why can you not do that? It's your body. Euthanasia. This is something that drives me up the wall. It's like, in this country, if you've got a terminal illness and you're going to die anyway, you have to die in pain. That's the law in this country. You have to die in pain. You can't peacefully pass away. And yes, there would be things put in place to make sure that the system wasn't abused. Of course. You wouldn't have a one-size-fits-all situation where you just walk into a suicide booth like in Futurama. But you will have these situations where you got to a certain age and you just don't want to go on anymore. And that's fair enough. It's your body, it's your life. You should be able to make that decision. And yet the very people who go on and on about the nanny state, they are the ones who want to steal your bodily autonomy. They're the ones who want to ban abortion. They're the ones who want to stop trans people from transitioning. They are the ones who want to stop people, getting piercings or getting tattoos or just being able to discriminate against them if they go for a job. I think that's wrong. I think that is completely wrong. But it's really weird that it's the same people who bang on about nanny statism that are the ones that want to tell you what you are allowed to do with your body. Now, drugs is an interesting one. If drugs were legal, I would have no problem with it. I have a problem with the fact that drugs are illegal. And therefore, if you take drugs in this world at the moment, there's a good chance you're funding gangsters. That's the government's fault. In the same way that the small boats coming over the channel is the government's fault. They completely constructed that situation. That didn't exist before. Hardly anyone came across on boats when we were part of the EU because people could be returned back to France if they were caught. So why would they risk it coming over in a small boat if there was a good chance that if they get caught, they'll be sent back? Now if they get caught, they've got to be brought into the country. And the other thing the government do that is just ridiculous is they make it so if asylum seekers, most of them during their application process, are not allowed to work. Now in the US, they're allowed to work. In other countries, they're allowed to work. Here, they're not. So they've literally got to live off taxpayers' money. And the Tories do this on purpose to wind people up so that people feel like they're paying tax to these disenfranchised people and going, oh, why is it going to them? Why is it going to these foreigners? They might not even be real asylum seekers. And that's horrible. That's just a sad situation. It just drives me up the wall. So yeah, just wanted to say that concerning the trans law. It's your body. As long as you're sane and an adult, go nuts, I don't see why the government get to tell you who you can marry, what tattoos you can get, what drugs you're allowed to take. Sane adults should be pretty much allowed to do whatever they want with their own body as long as they're not harming others around them. Anyway, so that's my 2 penneth on that. I did feel guilty when she went because it was so sudden. I felt I could have realised sooner that something was wrong. When I saw his x-ray, I knew there was nothing I can do. Well, Duke, I suppose that's some kind of condolence there, consolation, sorry, for you. And yeah, it's just a really shit situation to be in. I don't know if you know, but Super Tensky, the TikToker, she lost her cat a couple of weeks ago, and that was really sudden. That was just literally, the cat was ill, took the cat to the vet, and the vet's like, we're gonna have to put it down, which was really traumatic for Tan, unfortunately. Yeah, indeed. I'm going to change my name from Madonna, says David. There was no chance, says Duke Vengeance. Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear about that. So let's get into it. Let's talk a bit more about the Tories fighting like rats in a sack. It's really interesting that Boris Johnson today has actually come out against the deal that Rishi Sunak has been trumpeting, and he's managed to get some Brexiteers on board. And now that he's said, I'm not sure about this, I'm pretty sure that the DUP are going to backheel it, which means no Stormont, no Northern Ireland Assembly. It's not in the interest of the DUP to have the Assembly because they don't want to give people in Northern Ireland democracy. They don't want to give the people the vote. They don't want to get people to have a say. They want Brexit, which is weird because the majority of people in Northern Ireland voted against Brexit. So if they truly respected democracy, they would be doing everything they can to make the Brexit that Northern Ireland didn't want, as painless as possible. But the DUP want to rip up the Good Friday Agreement. Don't forget, the DUP voted against the Good Friday Agreement. They voted against it, and when they had the referendum in 1998, they told people to vote against it. They told unionists to vote against the Good Friday Agreement. So they've hated it from the start. They hate peace, they hate love, and people coming together from different communities to forge a brighter, fairer future in which people aren't getting blown up by freaking bombs. They don't want that. They want people to die, they want to make money, they want to be horrible, they want to say no, no, no about absolutely everything. So I guarantee that the DUP, after 2 weeks, well, yeah, guarantee, no one knows, nobody knows what's going to happen, but I think that's pretty much a done deal there. Indeed it is. So yes, I'm just also intrigued by this story about Matt Hancock, because the reason why Oakshit revealed those texts isn't because of some isn't because of all the deaths, isn't because the scum who run the Tory party decided not to throw a ring around the not to throw a ring of what was it, a protective ring around care homes. Instead, they sent people who had COVID into the care homes, and thousands of people died as a direct result of that government policy. Now, their excuse for this, what Hancock has gone on record to say, is that they didn't have enough testing kits to test everyone going back into the nursing homes. What they did have was lots of hotels. There were lots of hotels that were empty because everything was locked down. People couldn't go on holiday, people couldn't leave their homes. So there were loads of hotels, loads of hotel rooms that were free. Any competent government could have put the old people who were in the hospitals, needs to be taken out the hospitals to make way for COVID patients. Fine, put them in a hotel for 2 weeks, make sure they haven't got COVID, and then if they quarantine for 2 weeks in a hotel, which is fine, then they can go back to the nursing home. And I know there were issues with people who have dementia and people who are too sick to be able to move about easily, but it could have been done. Like, if the money was there, definitely, we know that because so much got spent on dodgy PPE contracts. Indeed. So yeah, the reason why she gave all these things out, these emails, WhatsApp messages, isn't there something like 100,000 messages or something? It's like an insane number of messages that she's given the Telegraph. She sold them to the Telegraph for an undisclosed sum. With friends like these, who needs enemies? Anyway, she did that, which is a bit scumbaggery, bit of a shit thing to do, but I'm glad that it's come out because I hate Matt Hancock and I want the Tories to just be destroyed as a party. Oh, my mum has just come into the room. Hello, Mum. Do you want to say hello to everyone?
Hello,
No, come in, come in, come and say hello. Look, it's me mum. It's me mum. Go and wave at the camera. Wave at the camera. Hello, Mum. I've told them I'm not swearing today because I'm here. I said the F-bomb before, but I said oops, sorry. So it's all good. Thank you for bringing me water. I really needed this. Cheers. Okay, bye, Mum. Oh, my lovely mum. My lovely Scottish mum. She's always seeing if I've eaten. So anyway, back to your messages. So no, what I'm saying is that Oakshit. She swears. She said that she didn't release these because of all the people that died under Hancock's reign of terror. No, she released it because she's a privileged little shit person who hated the lockdown. She hated having to wear masks, and we saw a lot of aristocratic mothers like Isabel Oakeshott and Lawrence Fox and Julia Hartless-Brewer and all these people whinging endlessly about having to wear masks. Why? Because they believe that the rules don't apply to them. If you are used to privilege, then equality feels like oppression. That is such a great line, and it sums up everything that we know about these aristocratic who are destroying our country. They're destroying our world. These are the people who are hedge fund managers, the people in charge of oil companies, of arms companies, of tobacco companies. They are killing the world with their greed, their stupidity, and their incompetence. We had the worst pandemic in living memory. In over 100 years. The worst pandemic, and we had the worst possible people in charge of our country at that time. And Hancock was told at the beginning of April 2020 that it was a bad idea to send ill people into a hospital. Have a think about this, right? At the time, my stepdaughter was 5. She understood that if someone has a virus, they can spread it to somebody else. Because that's how viruses work. They wouldn't be very effective as a virus if they just infected one person and that one person died and the virus died with them. And the arms race between humans and viruses has been going on for millions of years, back to the proto-humans, back to Australopithecus, back Afarensis, back all the way to the first spark of life on this planet. We've had viruses and we've had to deal with them. They've wiped out 99% of all species, have generally been wiped out by viruses, not necessarily by a meteor or something like that. And a particularly virulent strain, I mean, it's kind of like part of evolution, isn't it? It gets rid of a segment of that particular population of humans or any other animals or trees, Dutch elm disease, and the ones that are left are the more hardy ones that then go on to create more Dutch elm trees, or just elm trees, I guess. They don't have to be Dutch. The point being that this is why bananas are badly affected by Panama blight, because they're all clones. All the bananas that we eat, Cavendish bananas, are all clones of each other. So there's no genetic variation. Now, you know, we're humans. We've got medicine. We've got vaccinations. We've conquered a lot of these diseases. All that's left is Alzheimer's and, well, dementia and cancer, which we still can't quite get our head around. Well, some cancers. I mean, you look at the stats now for the generation coming up who've had the HPV vaccination that stopped cervical cancer, and it tracks. It is insane. The good that vaccination has done is off the charts. As someone whose sister died of cervical cancer, I wish it had been available 50 freaking years ago, but unfortunately it wasn't. So I'm going back to your messages. There was no choice. For you, Duke, to cheer you up. Davida sent a rose to Duke. Mad Hattercock. Mad Hattercock. I like that. That's from number 3. Hancock is a horny little creep. Yeah, I think that he gave all this stuff to Oak Shit because he thought that he might, you know, get a bit of action. That's what I think, because he is a little creep. He is a creepy little man. Hi all, says Freckle Puny. Hello. Hi mum, says hi Irene, says Lee. Evening Graham's mum, says Ben. Delightful Isabel, necessary Oak shit. Yes. If I had a face like hers, I'd wear a mask constantly. I hope you're not still talking about my mum, Lefty Boater. Duke, I'm going to make you smile. Anyway, what's the Lefty Boater with tassels? Okay, stop it. Ernie Burns said they were more worried about PR implications that the underfunded NHS couldn't cope at the expense of lives. It is disgusting. Yeah, it was all about PR and spin. In a medical emergency, that was their first thought. Imagine that, you know, that kind of person that there's a car accident or something, and the first thought isn't, oh shit, we better help the people who are injured in this accident. No, their first thought is, how is this going to look? How is this going to go down with the voters? Scum. Anyway, so there you go. I shall finish what we started, starting with the Tories that she never got to see defeated. Yes, we will defeat the Tories in the next election. It's got to be done. It is absolutely 100% got to be done. The Tories are just the worst. They are the worst political party at the moment. The population of the Conservative Party is just horrific. It is peopled by scum, by idiots, by incompetence, by people who care more about how they look than people's lives. And we've got to stop them. We have got to stop this cavalcade of scumbaggery. A friend of mine today, we were talking about the NHS, and his take on it, and his wife is a GP, was he doesn't think it's going to be around in a few years' time. They're going to privatise it. They're going to privatise every bit they can. They're going to charge you, because they're already charging for prescriptions in England. They're going to charge you to go and see the GP, and they're going to charge you to go to A&E. And there's a terrible cost to that in human life, because men, especially men, generally, not being sexist, but men generally, they have a problem with going to see the doctor, especially if it's an embarrassing problem. They want to man up and pretend that they're invincible, and it's difficult to get a. Not everyone. I'm happy to go and see the doctor, but like some men have an issue with going to see the doctor. They see it as a weakness, right? So it's hard enough to get people to see the doctor anyway, and this causes a lot of problems with people, where they have cancer and they don't get it treated fast enough, and if they'd gone to the doctor earlier, then they might have had more chance. But charging people, even if it's a tenner, it's going to put people off. It's going to be, I'm sure it'll go away by itself. And it's just a disgusting idea. 13 years ago, we had the best healthcare system in the world. And that wasn't our assessment, that was the assessment of people from other countries who looked at all the different healthcare systems around the world, and the NHS was the best. It was the best way of doing it. The US was one of the worst, because it's the worst way of doing it. People have a heart attack, and the first time, they're covered by their medical insurance through their work, but then they lose their job because they're sick for a long time, and it's very easy to sack people in America because the power of the unions has diminished over the years. And then you have a second heart attack, you lose your house. You lose the house that you've been working towards all your life. You lose it. That's the American system. It's barbaric. It's absolutely barbaric. Charging people to give birth. It's just, how? What? Are you crazy, girl? Don't answer that. We got an anti-American sentiment. I'm not a Tory. I'm just Tory voting scum, and I'm only voting Tory till the Tory voter comes. That's from the Vicar Puny. Oak shit made up the story of Cameron putting his pecker in a dead pig's mouth. This story put this right-wing hack on the map as a result. She's horrible. She is just a horrible, horrible person. She's a Brexiteer. All Brexiteers are horrible. They're not nice people. They're just, maybe the Brexit voters, some of them were duped. But there's proper Brexiteers, the ones who went on TV and said how great it would be outside the EU, how great it would be to take away from our nation's children the right, their birthright, to go and live and work in 31 other countries. It wasn't taken away from the rich, by the way. If you're rich, you can get a Maltese passport. If you're rich, you can get an Estonian passport. If you're rich, you can just go and live somewhere and prove you've got £5 in your bank account, prove that you've got an income. You can live there. You can pay someone else to do your paperwork. Because the EU allowed people like you and me to have the same rights as the mega rich to just go and live in any other country that they wanted to within Europe. The countries that you'd want to live in. Do you know what I mean? Like all the countries that you'd want to live in pretty much are in the EU or in the economic area, allowing you to live there, or Schengen. Mate, what have we done? What have we done? What have we done to ourselves? But yeah, the rich were pissed off because they had to sit with the plebs. They had to sit, with the economy travellers. They want a private jet. They want to be on their own in their own little castle in the sky. They don't want to have to share this world with other people. They just want other people to do their bidding, and it's disgusting. And a change has got to come. I think we need a revolution. I honestly believe that we need a revolution because we have a media in this country that tells people not to be angry with the rich who have been screwing them over, to an insane degree. These companies that have doubled their profits over the last year because of the energy crisis, which is disgusting, that they're price gouging, that they're making all this profit out of a war, out of people dying. And yet we had the same thing during COVID. You had these COVID pandemic profiteers like Michelle Mone, who made millions out of selling dodgy PPE that didn't even freaking work to our NHS, thereby killing people because the NHS bought X amount of gowns and masks and things. They were found not to work, and they could have spent their money on ones that worked. And because they didn't, people died as a direct result. Price gouging, spivs, these wartime profiteers. They're just scum. They're just absolute scum. But instead of getting angry at them, instead of going after them with our, blazing torches, we've been told to go after asylum seekers. There's a protest, last month's protest, there were two big protests in the country that got on the news. One in Knowsley, 10-minute drive from here in Liverpool, where I live, well, my parents live. And that was just a disgusting display of racism, xenophobia, stoked by our disgusting Home Secretary, who Cruella Braverman, who some of the phrases that she used were on the placards of the protesters. They burned the police car. They're fucking animals, these people. Animals. And the other big protest was about 15-minute cities. Yes, you heard that right. 15-minute cities, i.e. more livable cities where you can get to amenities on a bike or walking within 15 minutes, so you don't have to take the car everywhere, which is destroying the planet, destroying your wallet. It's a lot easier to just have your amenities around you. It is the way it used to be. It's not, it's harking back to the days when we used to design cities and settlements and villages and towns around the needs of humans rather than the needs of cars, which is the big shift that happened in the 1960s because people saw coin. The people making cars saw coin. The people making the roads, making the motorways saw coin. They wanted money. That's what they wanted. And they got it. They got it. But the idea that, hey, you know what, in the future, all adults, all 45 million adults in the UK should have a car. Each of them should have a car. Where are they going to fit? Where are they going? Where are you going to put them all? And then you've got this ridiculous situation where you have these cities with this amazing prime real estate in the middle of the city, which is given away, but used by cars. You have a stadium and you have a huge car park outside the stadium. You have, Liverpool is very frustrating for this. I know Everton are moving stadiums to Bramley Moor Dock, but where Goodison is at the moment, it's 100 metres from an old railway station. And the railway tracks are still there, but it's only used for freight these days. They could put on a Saturday special and get 40,000 people to the stadium on the freaking trains if they put them on. And the trains could come direct from Manchester, Birmingham, London, and go straight to the actual, if you electrified it or you allowed it to run on diesel, you could have a special and bring it straight to the stadium. The line is still there. It's not like you have to do anything. You have to build any bridge, you have to build any tunnels. It's not like making Crossrail. It's literally there, next to the stadium. And because there's two stadiums in Liverpool, they're very close to each other. They're separated by a park, by Stanley Park. But the stadium for Liverpool, Anfield, that's not far away either. It's probably about, half a mile, if that. It's walkable. It's very walkable. I mean, if I go to the match in Liverpool, I walk home to West Derby. It's not that far. Liverpool, it's not that. But the idea of bringing these things in, putting a station in, so trains can go there, electrifying the line, so you can get a special in on Saturdays, on match days, whenever they might be. I mean, you've got to get 40,000 people to the stadium, to one of the stadiums every week. Home matches all through the year, pretty much, except for like a couple of weeks in July where we have a little rest period from the football season, which just seems to go on and on and on forever. But it's maddening. And there were people actually protesting. They were protesting the idea of having more cycle lanes, the idea of having more public transport, the idea of having trams, the idea of having pedestrianised spaces, so you'd have cars charging. I then got taken out, by the way, this evening. I was at Sefton Park, and it's a 20-mile-an-hour zone, and there was a car doing about 40 miles an hour that nearly hit me on a zebra crossing. On a freaking zebra crossing. And I'm like, what is with these people who are like, people who drive cars are knobheads. Like, I drive a car. Everyone who drives a car has this thing where they are the greatest driver in the world. Newsflash, you're not. You're probably quite shit at it. Most people are. They think that anyone going faster than them is a maniac and anyone going slower than them is a dickhead. And everything they do is justified. When they make a mistake, when I make a mistake, there was always a good reason for it. There was always a good reason for me to make that mistake. But everyone else on the road doesn't see that good reason. They're just idiots who see, basically, you've made a mistake, and they're like, road rage. And the idea that cars are these masters of cities and our lives is so frustrating to me. And it's one of my favourite bits. I mentioned this before, and the idea in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is that Ford Prefect came to Earth in the 1970s, and he looked around and he just assumed that the cars were the dominant intelligent species on the planet because everything that he saw seemed to be built around the needs of a car. And so he tried to shake hands with the car. He was saved by Arthur Dent, and that's how they began their friendship. And that's a great setup. I think it's really funny. I think it's very, very apt as well, because why are we creating our lives, creating our communities around the car? It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous system. And the idea of being able to live and work and go to the shops and buy things, get clothes, get food, go to the cinema, and everything's 15 minutes walk. Brilliant. And there were people protesting against it, saying, oh, this is the new world order and you won't be allowed out of your commune. I was like, what? How thick do you have to be? You think they're really going to do that? Do you think they're going to kettle people in? Thousands of people in each, millions of people in London. You're going to say, oh, you can't leave your area. Do you know what would happen if you did that? Everyone would leave the area with burning torches and burn everything down. What the... I mean, what do you patrol? What do they think is going to happen? They're going to put a wall around different sectors of London and you're not going to be able to leave your sector? Why spend that money? How is that? How stupid are these people? They are so stupid. They are painfully stupid. They are anti-vaxxers, they are flat earthers, they are Brexit voters. You can just throw them into a big noodle soup of stupidity and they always come out the same way. The recipe's always the same. They believe absolute fucking nonsense. Normal nonsense. Because nobody gets to tell them to shut up like we used to be able to when we went to the pub. And what they do is they go on the internet and they find some other knobhead who's got this crazy idea about the world being flat or the royal family being lizards, and they're like, oh yeah, well that must be what happened then. And I'm just like, oh man, what is wrong with you? It's kind of painful. But as a liberal, I've got to say, we've got to stop being so liberal. As someone who's very tolerant, I've got to say, we've got to stop being so tolerant. We need to stop calling a spade a spade. When someone is an idiot, we need to stop mollycoddling them. We need to stop suffering fools gladly, or just suffering them. We need to basically tell stupid people that they're stupid and they should shut up. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Right, I've got loads of messages to read, I hope. No super chats though. I don't think anyone's dropped a super chat in tonight, and considering I made a big effort to get Cecil here in Liverpool, I think I deserve a drink. And it was my birthday this week, so if you want to drop a super chat in, you're very welcome. No obligation, no obligation. I know that bloody, it's expensive living these days, so, you know, no obligation. Oh my god, I've got loads of comments, like a virgin. I'm seriously thinking about dental insurance now. No NHS dentist left, forced into this reluctantly. Indeed. Oh, number 3's dropped £30 into my account. Thank you very much, Richard. So Richard's done a super chat, effectively, and circumvented Google's 30% that they take for each super chat, the cheeky buggers. And John Barleycorn says, have a kid in a US hospital and they charge you something called skin-on-skin experience, otherwise known as holding your baby. Oh my god. I feel like I'm reading mean tweets. Oakshot was called an advert for Hitler Youth. Yeah. Woolly backs, yeah, well everyone from that side of the M57 is a woolly back as far as I'm concerned. Current Tories like Gullis and 30p Lee make 1980s Norman Tebbit seem like a bit of a softie with his on your bike comments. Yeah. Get on your bike, get a job. Get another job. Just get another job. Just get another job and another job. I'm always doing 3 jobs. I'm still going to a food bank to make ends meet because of your shit government that just can't run a country. Just hasn't got a clue how to run a country. You know, they're all ideological lunatics. So the one thing that the Tories never used to be before Thatcher was ideological. They were just basically managers of everyday life. But then Thatcher came along and went, oh, I got this idea. I'm going to give everything over to the market and the market will decide. But the problem is with capitalism, as we discussed the other day, the market always ends in a monopoly. Always, 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 because you've got competition and one side will rule out over the other side, and before you know it, there's only one type of cola, or there's only one type of burger, or there's only one type of computer, or there's only one type of mobile phone, because that's the natural way of things going in capitalism. That's unbridled, unrestricted capitalism. We need the Monopolies and Mergers Committee. We need the antitrust laws in the United States to stop this kind of shit from happening. We need to stop Live Nation and Ticketmaster from merging into this horrible conglomerate that steals money off punters and makes the whole experience of going to see live music completely shite, and also charges an arm and a leg to go and do it. We need to stop this. We need to have a government, and its government's job is to protect us, protect me and you, from disease, from companies that want to steal our money, from high energy bills, from coronavirus, from foreign invading armies, from our own stupidity maybe sometimes, from being thick, so they have to provide education. That's what a government should do. They should protect the people. They should be there to protect and serve the people that they represent, but they don't. They're too busy enriching, feathering their own nest, lining their pockets with Britain's cash, with our money, with our taxpayer money that they're giving to their little crony mates. And not one Tory is going to die in poverty. Not one of these bastards who are in charge at the moment are going to die in poverty, because they have all got little backhanders, they've got side projects going on, they've all got, you know, cushy jobs lined up for when they're not politicians anymore, and they, you know, get a massive backhander, golden parachute, golden handshake, call it what you want, golden shower. They're going to be all right. We're not. We're fucked. This generation coming up, they're calling it Generation Z. No, Generation F, mate. Generation F. So they're fucked by the older people. By 90% of the wealth in the UK at the moment is held by baby boomers. 90% of the wealth in this country at the moment is held by one particular generation, in which 1 in 5 is living in poverty and 1 in 5 is a millionaire. Do we need wealth distribution? Yes, we need wealth distribution. We shouldn't redistribution. We need, as a society, we need universal basic income for a start, but also we need to look at the fact that we have billionaires. We shouldn't have any billionaires. That's it. That's the limit that you're allowed to own. Not earn in a year, own. You cannot have more than £1 billion in assets. If you do, we're going to take them off you and divide them amongst the people. We're going to take them off you and build a hospital with it. We're going to take it off you and build some schools with it. You can have £999 million. That's fine. You can have that. Any more than that? Nope. Sorry, that's 100% taxable. Thank you very much. You want to give that money away to a charity? Fine, do it. Do it. No, seriously, do it. Brexit broke Britain. Not just wealth in itself, Graham, but also class, often linked to wealth, of course. Hence the fact that people doff their caps towards incompetence such as Johnson and Rees-Mogg. Yeah. I absolutely agree with that, and that is one of the reasons why Welsh people and Irish people and Scottish people are less likely to fall for the ridiculousness of the British upper class, because they don't go all gooey-eyed and soft-kneed, trembly-kneed at the sound of a posh voice. Oh, a posh voice, he must know what he's talking about. You know, the pilot voice that we have. Pilot voice. Even though I have a good bus and train services within 15-20 minutes walking distance, I'll be lost without the car. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, the public transport in the country is shite. Everywhere but London. London, it's amazing. You have train stations everywhere. Everywhere all over London. There's more train stations in London than there is in the rest of the country put together. Yeah, great. They've got trams, they've got buses. It's all in one system. They've got ferries going over the river, and it's all one system. It's all on the Oyster cards. In Liverpool, you've got an Arriva bus pass, and Stagecoach turn up. It's the same bus, it's the same number, it's going the same route, but you can't get on that bus. You've got to wait another 20 minutes for the Arriva bus to come because you've got an Arriva bus pass. You can't get on the Stagecoach. What a ridiculous system. Ford Prefect, says Lee. Well, he calls himself Ford Prefect, doesn't he? Because he named himself after a car. It's a really weird name for a car, that, isn't it? A prefect. Why would you call a car a prefect? It's like people like prefects, I don't know. I don't drive because the ADHD, my attention span is shocking. If you do want to drive, my advice is get an audio book going while you drive. Lee says, yes, all the people who live in those cities in the Netherlands riding their bikes everywhere are so oppressed. Yeah, indeed. Raymond says, hi Graham, I'm 68. My ambition is to live long enough to see us back in the EU. I don't think it's going to happen, but I can dream. Raymond, listen, if we can do it, if we can get out, we can get back in. And I don't think that the EU is going to be, you know, if there is that kind of sea change. And you're right, it is going to take a little while. for that sea change of attitude to happen. But considering the recent polling that only one constituency in the entire country, Boston and Lincolnshire, would still vote for Brexit if there was a referendum held tomorrow, that is very telling. That is very telling. And yeah, we're not quite there yet. The whole rejoin movement is still getting off the ground, but I think that by the end of the decade, I think we could be very well positioned to getting back into the EU. That's just my own take on it. When I was 15, the electric cart delivered milk in glass bottles, eggs, butter to the door. Now we drive to the supermarket, get food in plastic packaging, cheaper apparently. Yeah. I mean, isn't that mad that like things were more environmentally friendly in the 1950s? Well, certain things were, obviously. It wasn't great that they were doing nuclear testing, wasn't really great, nuclear bomb testing, wasn't really great that they were driving around with cars with lead in the petrol, etc. But, yeah, the electric milk floats. Why not? Alex Jones was complaining that Q was set up by the CIA to discredit proper conspiracy theory people like him. That's mad, isn't it? It's all a conspiracy. Conspiracies appeal to dickheads because it makes them feel clever. And clever people make idiots feel stupid. And posh people who are idiots, who do quite well in life because they're posh and they're rich, they were born rich, they make idiots feel better by being idiots. So one thing that the left need to learn from the right is that the left make people feel bad about their lives. They make people feel bad for flying, for going on holiday, for driving to work, to driving to the supermarket, for getting plastic in milk in milk bottles, milk in plastic bottles, etc. I mean, the left make people feel bad, whereas the right make dickheads and racists feel great about themselves because they're like, oh yeah, this is the way to be. I'm a dickhead. I'm a racist. I'm going to take over the world. The dickheads shall inhabit the planet. Oh, unfortunately. Right. Subtitles. What? Can you not hear me? The people in my generation are starting to give up. The next generation look a lot less stressed because they've already given up. Indeed. Chassis Rat says there's a movie set in Dublin where the character played by Gene Wilder made a living collecting horse poo off the streets. Excellent. Billionaires are the toxic waste of capitalism. They are indeed. They shouldn't exist. Number 3, I don't get the costing. Pollution is free, no charge. Just going to complain about your health or the world later. Indeed. My headphones battery has died. Can't hear out. Oh dear, mate. Oh dear. Why do your headphones need batteries? Just get ones. Graham says, talking of free market, the next Apple iPhone will comply with the EU and have a USB-C port, but it will only work with Apple-approved USB-C chargers or devices. Tricksy little hobbits. So basically my little Dell fast charger, which is for my laptop, but also for my phone. It's great, that, isn't it? I guess just put it. That's not going to work, no. Bastards. Talking of free market, then it doesn't conform to that standard, surely, says number 3. I'm sure they've got a way around it somehow. Here in Leeds, there's been talk of a tram system for the last 30 odd years. Not one brick has been laid. In fact, Leeds is the biggest city in the UK without a tram system or underground. Yeah. Manchester's got a tram system. Liverpool's got an underground. It's only 4 stations, but, you know, it's an underground of sorts. Newcastle has an underground. It's only got 2 lines, but it's an underground. Yeah, I can hear now, says Lee. Yay! I built a ramen shop as well, says Duke. I think he's talking about Minecraft again. So anyway, yeah, so that's where we are. Thank you all for your lovely messages. Really appreciate it. And it's come up to 10 o'clock now. So yeah, just discussing a little bit. And these episodes sometimes just turn into a big rant against the Tory party, but that's what I do. I rant against the Tory party. Thank you very much to Alexis for the super chat, by the way. Yeah, I just feel like I need to do this. It's like therapy for me because it's nice to sit down with like-minded people and talk about the troubles that are being caused by the people in charge. Because they don't give a fuck. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. Ooh, I swore. They only care about feathering their own nests. And that's disgusting and it needs to stop. And these people need to be stopped. And they need to be thrown in jail and then hell. In that order. Or maybe the other order. I don't know how it works. Anyway, so thank you very, very much for watching. I've still got a box of SCSI cables. That's from John Barleycorn. Throw them away. You're never going to use them. Chuck them out. When they denied Scotland democracy, it ceased to be UK. Please stop calling it such. Time to pull on the big boy pants and just be England and leave the rest of us alone. I 100% agree. So I think that Scotland would do much better as an independent nation. End of. I think that what the UK did to Scotland, or what Westminster did to Scotland, was absolutely reprehensible. To say in 2015 that if you vote out of the UK, you're going to have to try and get back into the EU, and that's going to be difficult and take many years, and in the meantime your trade is going to suffer, your relations with other countries are going to suffer. And that was a big lie, because a year later they had a referendum, a fraud-orendum, which was, you know, Putin's wet dream, paid for partly by Putin, to destroy Europe, helped, you know, separate the UK from Europe, as was asked for in the politics, the foundations of geopolitics by Alexander Duggan back in 1997. He said that the UK should be separated from the rest of Europe. He got his wet dream, and Scotland was pulled out of the EU against its will. And at that moment, I was like, that's it, Scotland should go its own way. So I went from being someone who thought that the Union was better together, and my Scottish friends, most of them agreed with me about that. Now me and all my Scottish friends that I know are like, sod it, let's just go our own way, because anything is better than this, being ruled by these dickheads in London, these posh morons. And when we saw Prime Minister's Questions yesterday, Rishi Sunak saying to Keir Starmer, well, you know, if you ever get out of North London, which is the same sort of shit that Boris Johnson used to pull, where he'd say, oh, the Islington elite and all this. And these are people who went to some of the most expensive schools in the country. Rishi Sunak went to Winchester and Boris Johnson went to Eton. Anyway, oh wow, HK, great seeing you with your mum. £10 super chat. Thank you very much, HK. Really appreciate that. Before I go, I want to see these tossers in prison. I do want to see that as well. I don't want to see them tossing in prison though. That'd be disgusting. They probably have their own version. I'm a shoo-in for Scottish citizenship. My mother and her mother were born there. Brilliant job, Barleycorn. Let's go for it. If we all move to Scotland and we rejoin the EU, then we could all be back in the EU by the end of the decade. So let's do that, shall we? I mean, seriously, if Scotland gets independence in the next couple of years, yeah, let's move to Scotland. That's my plan. That's my plan. I'm sticking to it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all my subscribers, all of my patrons who are wonderful. If you want to become a patron and you're not a patron at the moment, or you were a patron and you want to become a patron again, it's only £3 a month, which is like, you know, half a pint these days. If you want to sign up to that, I'd really appreciate it. It's patreon.com/thatgingerscouser. It's in the description below or above, depending if you're watching this on Facebook or you're watching it on YouTube. And thank you very much for all your comments. And I will return on Monday at 9 o'clock for another round of The War on Error. But until then, I'll leave you with a list of all my wonderful patrons and YouTube members. And until then, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.